So touching on all the youth academies here, USA producing some amazing players. Let's talk a little bit about the national team, man. There's a lot of excitement going on in the national team, and it's interesting because I like watching too, like what other countries like reporters and analysts have to say about what's going on here, especially in Mexico. Now they're like, hold on, like there's 10 or 11 USA players in the Champions League this year, and there's only three in Mexico. Like, what's going on? Like, hold on, let's pause
Oh, I
for a
love it.
second.
I love it.
And so, one of the biggest things that I criticize, though, is that USA failed to make the World Cup in
Right.
2018. And
Mhm.
if they were playing in CONMEBOL, I could understand. But you're playing
Right.
in CONCACAF, bro. Like,
But yeah,
you and
understand.
Mexico theoretically are the best teams here, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that kind of gives it a negative perspective in terms of Pulisic could have used that World Cup, as a
Mhm.
learning experience,
Oh
So
yeah,
by
for
the time
sure.
he hits 23, 24, he understands that World Cup culture more. And by the time the 2026 World Cup comes in, he's just ready made, right? And so, what do you
Oh yeah.
think the U.S. has learned these last couple of years from failing to make a World Cup to the transition that I'm seeing now, where it felt like in 2018, like all this potential was going down the drain, but we're kind of
Mhm.
picking back up again?
Yeah, I mean, it's unacceptable not to make the World Cup, and a lot of people said that it was a huge backward step for U.S. I mean, they were kind of predicting that these next 4 years are going to be some of like the worst for the U.S. in
Yeah,
terms of talent and appearance, and whether it be fans and all the kind of every single aspect of U.S. soccer. They predicted that, but it actually turned out to be one of the most like electrifying past couple months for U.S. soccer because all of a sudden we have these players, young guys at the top teams throughout the whole world.
yeah,
Unfortunately, though, with that said, in terms of if the United States Soccer Federation has learned anything, I don't think they have. No, they haven't learned anything. That's the unfortunate part about all this is that USSF has not learned a thing from this because they didn't even bother to go out and interview different coaches. You just lost a World Cup, bringing in a quick fix with Bruce Arenas, a quick fix with him, and the next step you do, we just lost a World Cup. The next step you do is let's just hire this dude's little brother and not even bother to interview anyone
yeah.
else, which is Greg Berhalter. Now,
And how long did
uh,
they take to appoint him?
it was
That's
it
another
was a
big
year and a
problem
half.
for
It was
me.
a year and a half
Yeah,
for no
that's
reason.
way too much time.
But if don't lie to the nation that you're doing a search and it's going well when you already know your guy. Just even if a lot of people don't like Greg, at least just come out, have some balls, come out and face it to people like, hey, we're making this appointment and we're just gonna start right now. Like that at least gives Greg Berhalter a year to get his system in place, get to know the people, and as well gives us the fans, the USSF time to more have to get a better idea of what we're going to get out of him.
Yeah,
Um, so unfortunately, I don't think USSF has learned a thing from this whole experience
which,
because there's
which yeah, which I think is a problem, man. Because even if we have great talent, if you don't have a coach that understands that or that can pull the best out of these players, like you kind of you're risking losing a generation. Just like England lost a generation with your Gerards, your Scholes, your Beckhams. Like they
exactly
didn't win anything, but you know what? There
right.
was a lot of inner turmoil that
Mm-hmm.
a great coach could have done something about. I can think of Argentinian teams too that have had
Definitely.
amazing teams, and I'm like, man, if they just had the right coach, like this team could be unstoppable.
Right, exactly. And so, unfortunately, like I said, USSF has not learned a thing. They're still
Hmm.
greedy. They're still doing
Yeah,
whatever they're doing. However, they're being carried right now. They're being absolutely carried across the finish line, or not the finish line, but they're getting carried by these young players coming in, who at least USSF may have not learned anything, but MLS is learning something right now. United States Youth is learning something right now. They learned that, man, we can go, and this is big thanks to Pulisic, Tyler Adams, and Alfonso Davies. These guys were absolute trailblazers for MLS in the United States national
yeah,
team. Alfonso Davies for MLS because it was like, wow, like the world saw there is talent in MLS that can transfer to being elite in Europe. So therefore, scouts started coming to the U.S. and therefore teams are like, oh man, we got to make some more players. We got to start producing talent because people are actually interested and it can benefit the first team and us long term. So thankfully, USSF may have not learned anything, but thankfully, every single other aspect of U.S. soccer has learned something.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not going to be too critical on Greg Berhalter just yet. While he did go he went 8-2 in competitive matches, which is it's a good record for any coach, but it is CONCACAF and we should be winning every game, right? So 8-2 can be misleading. However, I think I'm not going to be too hard on him. Let's just see how qualifying goes.
Yeah.
Because I don't think necessarily you need to have a world-class coach to win a World Cup. For me, the most recent is Croatia. Croatia won with a coach whose most recent job was coaching in the Saudi Arabian League, and then before that, the Croatian League.
Yeah.
But he was Croatian. I mean, I think we talked about this.
We did.
So I don't think it's necessary, but if you have a better option, go for it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the better option for me is Jesse Marsh all day.
Okay.
I'm a Jesse Marsh diehard.
That's your guy.
What makes Jesse Marsh so great too and so perfect for this team, and it's too bad we can't have him right now, is because the average age for his starting 11 is 23 years old, which is around the average age of our starting 11. If we put out the proper group out there.
That's a good point.
And so he is working with these 23-year-olds to get the most out of them within the Austrian League and Champions League, and who put up a fight against a Liverpool.
I saw that game, man. I was a little nervous, to be honest with you.
But he has the ability and has proven that he can get the most out of these young players and develop them. And then, of course, we have Holland. I mean, Holland absolutely strived in Jesse Marsh's system.
Yeah.
He completely blew up under his system, and now he's doing great at Dortmund.
Yeah.
So Jesse Marsh for me is
Minamino too. Got that transfer to Liverpool. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also a beast.
Yeah.
But he's proven that he's capable of getting the most out of the young side, as well developing them better. So, I can't think of a better coach for this current generation pool that we have. A bunch of young dudes. That aren't the primes yet, but Jesse Marsh could be great.
I think the best thing that this is going to reveal is that if this team is not succeeding or if they're struggling, like that's going to put a lot of pressure on U.S. soccer, and I think that's good. Like they need that pressure. Like that's one thing that I criticize, like the American fans and the American soccer culture is in other countries in South Central America, in Europe, there's pressure on the coaches. Why? Because I guess the pressure is different because a lot of these companies, like I can think of Mexico, depends on Mexico making it to the World Cup. Depends on them being successful, right? Versus the U.S., it's not like that because the fan base is not that large yet, but it's getting there. And so I kind of like that. Okay, let's see. You have everyone has eyes on you now because you have a lot of talent. What kind of system are you producing to make sure that this talent is flourishing not only in CONCACAF but at a World Cup level? Because I can think of that 2002 team that the U.S. had that's probably, in my opinion, the best one that they've had so far. I think this one can supersede it. But at the same time, like, you have to show it on the field, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, kind of what drove the 98, 2002 teams of the U.S. was that underdog spirit. We didn't have players as talented as Mexico. We didn't have players anywhere at those levels at that time. But we had guys who were just fighters, man. They would put their hearts out there. They put their hearts on the line. They put their bodies on the line. The U.S. has always been known as a tough team to play against, whether it's in CONCACAF internationally, like against Belgium in 2014 World Cup. We gave Belgium we gave Portugal a hard time, man. And same with Belgium when we lost to them in the quarters. But they had Portugal. It was a tie with Portugal, and then Belgium won. But Belgium had to go to overtime, and it was we gave them a fight. We gave them a really good fight. We made them earn it. The recent teams of U.S. doesn't even make teams earn it. We're not even tough to play against.
Yeah.
And so that kind of part of the identity has gone, but it has been replaced now with really good players, with elite players at the highest level. So,
Which, if you would want something, I'd rather have that. But at the same time, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't want to work.
well, I was gonna say, I would say that if the hard work was equal on both sides, but you can have talented players, but you can't teach hard work. That's
Yeah.
a hard thing. That's not a you can train someone to shoot better, pass better. You can't train that, but I do think this generation has that.
Yeah.
I think I mean, we saw Pulisic's passion on that game. He was the only one doing anything against Trinidad and Tobago, and he was crying, melted down. Adams, McKenney, Reyna, Dest, Richards, Brooke, all these guys are fighting them. You know, they have fight.
Which I think can pull, like, now they have this little thing on their back saying, yo, we missed the last World Cup. Let's show everybody what we're about, right?
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
You have a little attention now, but to me, it means nothing because I've seen different teams and different generations of soccer teams all over the world that have a lot of potential, but they never end up doing anything.
Exactly. And in fact, you know, people say, oh, it's terrible that we missed it, but I low-key think that that's the best thing that could happen to U.S. soccer was missing that World Cup.
I think so if it produces something. If nothing happens, then I'm like, okay, you just missed the World Cup.
Right. That's a great point. And of course, you know, if we made the World Cup, would you have all these great players at the best clubs? Probably, yeah. McKinney probably still be where he is. That's probably still be where he is. Pulisic will still be killing it. If anything, he'll be better. I do think that way. But what I'm saying is, I think it works to the benefit of the next generation because when that older generation didn't make it, it kind of was like, okay, now there's no excuse. Get these guys out of here. Get these old guys out of here. It's time for the new guys because now we didn't qualify for the World Cup. We got nothing to lose now. Like, there's literally not anything worse than that. And so it not only forces the youth players to Greg Berhalter and the staff there to play the young players, but also, like you said, these guys are going to have that chip on their shoulder of like, the last guys didn't make it. We got to make it. We got to prove something.
You couldn't beat Trinidad C team? Are you joking me right now?
Exactly. Right, exactly. And so I think it's beneficial and a great thing to happen because if this happened with this current team now of the young guys, that would be devastating. Going from 22 to 26 years old and missing a World Cup, you know, that would be devastating. But it happened at a good time when this generation was kind of dying off and the new one came in. So the new one now is more inspired, more determined than ever to make a World Cup because, you know, like you said, they have this thing on their back of like, we got to do it. So that only adds even more incentive for this team to produce. So it could be well, you know, like you said, we'll see, you know.